everyone, welcome back to Southern Gal True Crime, or if this is your first time here, thank you so much for dropping in. I share missing persons, cold cases, and true crime in the news, and I wanted to share with you some recently there's been a development in the Asha Degree case. Asha went missing from North Carolina in 2000, so this case is a little bit over 24 years old because it was around February 14th that Asha went missing. And within the last week, there was some information released regarding multiple search warrants that police had conducted in connection to Asha's case. They did find some DNA evidence that has led them to name 2 suspects in the case. And we did talk about this in our last live stream that we had here on the channel. We went over the timeline and we discussed the names of the 2 suspects in the family that has been identified as possibly having something to do with Asha's disappearance. And we just talked about some of our theories and thoughts on what may have happened. I will link that in the description box, so please do check it out if you want to know our thoughts and more information. But I came across this article today that apparently the DNA that they found, they used relatively new DNA technology to be able to extract this DNA, to be able to name these suspects. And so this article is from September 20th of 2024. DNA was a key factor in recent updates in the 24-year-old case of missing Cleveland County girl Asha Degree. Search warrants recently carried out in connection with Asha's disappearance highlighted the use of DNA to help identify suspects, despite the case being decades old. Forensic genealogists say this type of technology has only been available in recent years. Forensic genealogist Leslie Kaufman said, quote, "They never cease to amaze me as to what they hold on to, just hoping that technology is going to catch up with what they have, and that's exactly what they have done here." Asha was reported missing from her home in Shelby, North Carolina in 2000, and she was only 9 years old when she went missing. This month, the FBI, State Investigations Bureau, and Cleveland County Sheriff's Office conducted searches at multiple properties with the consent that they got from 8 search warrants. One of the warrants said that a hair stem sample found from Asha's undershirt connected investigators to a family in Cleveland County. Kaufman said that link could have only been made due to improvements in DNA profiling on hair. So in other articles, and we talked about it once again in our live stream, one of the DNA profiles they got back was from a hair stem DNA that they found on Asha's undershirt. And if you remember, a few years after Asha went missing, her backpack was found. It was found wrapped in 2 plastic garbage bags, and it was buried. And the only thing that had ever been released publicly that I could ever find before now was that the only thing found in the bag, in her book bag, were a New Kids on the Block t-shirt, or shirt, which they said did not belong to Asha, and a Dr. Seuss book. But apparently other articles of Asha's clothing were found, and this is how they got one of the DNA profiles. They have, according to the genetic genealogist, she goes on to say they have actually really come a long way with that in the past 2 to 3 years, and it's even newer than the forensic genealogy with DNA from other sources. Kaufman gave credit to the agency that stored the DNA related to Asha's case for more than 2 decades, waiting for the technology to catch up. She says the hair was kept in a good environment and it was sealed and kept from being contaminated, so they were able to use it. The things that do damage DNA are going to be the elements outside, rain, the weather, heat, cold, those types of things. Also, the proper collection and storage of the DNA, because you want to make sure it is not contaminated. And they want to make sure that they put it in a sealed container so that it can be stored at a normal temperature and held so that it does not degrade. So just kudos to the lab, wherever they have had this evidence, DNA, stored for over 20 years. Kudos to them for everything they did to make sure that it could be tested at some point. It is that kind of DNA evidence that experts say helps forensic genealogists do the genealogy when people opt into sharing their information publicly on databases like 23andMe and Ancestry DNA. It is a puzzle. For instance, what genealogy does is it gives law enforcement a lead to work with, said Kaufman. The onset of forensic genealogy for law enforcement actually came about in 2018 when the Golden State offender was identified using DNA analysis and combining genealogy with that set of precedents that set it up to all the agencies. Kaufman said that she believes DNA is often the most certain way to solve cases, and she was glad to see it used in Asha's case. She says, quote, "I've kind of followed this case for many years, and I'm very excited to see law enforcement is coming close to making some type of conclusion as to what has happened to this little girl. I think they are very, very close. I'm not going to say it's as close as they can get, but I do believe that they are very, very close," end quote. While she knows that Asha's family wishes their loved one's case was solved, Kaufman said she expects the use of the new technology to be worth the wait, and she concludes with, "DNA does not lie, people do," end quote. So I just wanted to bring you that new information in Asha's case. I have been keeping up with Asha's case since I discovered it, came across it, and started reading up on it a couple of years ago. So give this video a like, thumbs up before you leave. Leave your comments on what you think about this case, your theories, your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one.